All right, it's all you.
Okay,
Thank
great.
you.
How's everyone doing? Good, love that enthusiasm. Okay. How many of you have ever Googled yourself? Oh, good. There's nothing vain or narcissistic about it unless you do it every hour, right? But it's important to do so because you want to find out what the world is seeing when they look you up. And obviously, employers are doing this to you. Graduate admissions officers are doing it to you. The people you go out on dates with are doing it to you, right? So it's important to know what Google is showing to you. Now, anyone want to tell me kind of what they found when Googling themselves? LinkedIn? Yeah, LinkedIn is one of the highest ranking Google results when you search for your own name. So I hope all of you have a LinkedIn account because it's something that you control, as opposed to those party pictures from Las Vegas that you want nobody to find. So, but what's interesting is that Google has been around for a long time. I've been around for a long time, and I've used search engines a lot, and the emphasis on social media networks is fairly recent, which is why so many people create social media accounts with no intention of ever using them. It's just because when somebody Googles their name or their company, up comes their social media profiles on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. But what if somebody's not Googling your name, but Googling the category that you fall into? What if they're looking for somebody to be a communications consultant? What if they're looking for somebody to advise them on graphics or data analytics? Now you need a little more strategy than just creating a social media profile. And the thing with Google is that it's a moving animal. And we're always watching what it's doing. It's a lot more complicated than what Google used to be when I started out many, many years ago. And this is why Google is complicated. One, it depends on you, where you are at the time. If you are using Google while on vacation in Brazil, it will give you very different results than when you're on vacation in France. It depends on your device. If you're searching on your phone, and by the way, right now more than 50% of all searches are by phone, Google gives you different results. One is Google will say, well, which neighborhood are you in? So if you're Googling pizza, it's going to show you pizza in the USC neighborhood, if you do it right here. If you're in Santa Monica, it'll give you very different results. And it also depends on the technology of the websites. So lots of things depend just on you. So two people sitting side by side may get very different results when Googling. So if you're the kind of person who looks up Apple, and one of you is a computer person and the other is a farmer, guess what? You're going to get very different results when you get Apple. Because the farmer is like, no, I don't want computers. I want seeds. I want fertilizer. I need to grow some trees. So that's what they're going to give it. The computer guy's like, obviously you're not into trees. You want a computer. So a lot of it depends on you. There's also Google bias. We'd like to think of Google as being neutral. It's not true. It has its own favorites. One is it favors the really big brands. So obviously if you're going to look up the University of Southern California, it's always going to put our website first. It doesn't matter how good you are at SEO. You're not going to beat USC for its own name. Now a smaller company will struggle because someone might be better than a smaller company at SEO and steal their name away. But for the big brands, if you look up Toyota, you're going to get the Toyota website first. So there's a bias towards there. Social networks, I mentioned, there's a bias. And there's also a bias toward what's called aggregators. Big websites with a lot of information. And you may have noticed that when you Google anything, Wikipedia comes up really, really high. That's because Wikipedia is an aggregator with a lot of content. Google also recently, I don't have it up here, has been trying to emphasize facts more. And this has gotten into a little bit of political trouble, but it says we don't want to show fake news anymore. So if it's somebody's looking up climate change or climate warming, Google's only going to show the ones that say that yes, climate warming exists. If your site says a climate warming does not exist, Google will not favor you. So there is some bias within Google, and this bias changes all the time, depending on their most recent executive meeting. Google changes constantly. As I'm talking to you, Google's algorithm is changing. They change it hundreds of times a week. It's to keep people from trying to game the system. Because there are lots of people who just do Google optimization full time. And now every day they try to figure out, how does Google work? So Google says, they're getting close to finding the secret. Let's move the ball. Let's hide it from them. Also, you may think, all right, I built a website. I hired an SEO expert. He optimized my website. I'm done. No, you're not. Because not only did Google change after you built your website, but so did your competition. So USC builds its website. USC sets up its communications school. And over at Northwestern University, they're like, we don't like the fact that USC is ranked higher than us. Quick, call the SEO guys. Let's fix this so Northwestern ranks higher than USC. So Google optimization, search engine optimization, is a full-time job. And by the way, it's a really good job. For those of you looking for work, learn your SEO. I always tell everyone, go get Google Analytics certified. It's free, it's online, it looks great on your resume. Google Analytics certified. So it's a competitive sport. It's like USC versus UCLA on the football field, but a lot harder. USC usually wins. Okay. Why am I talking so much about Google? We do know that there are other search engines in the world. Well, at least in most of the world, in most of the search market, Google controls nearly 2/3 of the market. Bing is up around 21%, and Bing can go up or down. Bing cut a deal with Yahoo. Bing may go down. Obviously, those of you from China use a very different search engine. But today I want to focus on Google, just because it's the boss in most of the Western search market. I'm also going to focus on the free stuff. This is called the organic listing. This is the stuff you do not pay for. Today, I'm not going to talk about the advertising. The advertising is part of SEM, search engine marketing. This is spending money. I like free. So we're going to focus on the free stuff today. How to rank highly in the organic listings. So you pop up here when somebody searches for your category. Now, why is this so important? Well, you probably know the answer to this, but the higher ranked items get more clicks. This is a classic eye tracking chart where they track where people's eyes look when they look at the computer screen. And you notice that most of the action is up here in what's called the golden triangle. Well, that's obviously why they put a lot of the ads up there, but you can also see some intensive activity down here. Red means a lot of people are looking. Not a little bit over here, not so much. So we see where the human eyes are going, but we can also learn more about what exactly they click on. And we can see the first ranked item gets more than 40% of the clicks. And look how far the drop-off is when you get to number 2, number 3, number 4, almost to the point where down at the bottom of the page, you're getting almost no clicks. This is why there's such heavy competition to rank higher. Because think about all this traffic, all these potential customers that you may be losing just by falling a bit further down. And this is just on the first page. Now, you may know, unless you're Googling yourself, you probably don't look at page 2 and page 3. Right? You're Googling yourself, you're like, yeah, I want to find out what my ex is saying about me. But look at the difference between page 1 and page 2. Huge drop-off. Now, you may have come across spammers, email, and ads, all these people who promise you Google page 1 results. And we'll talk about the black hat methods that they use. They will get you on page 1 briefly, but then when Google finds out the tricks that were used to get you on page 1, you'll be dropped from Google entirely. So today I'll show you how not to do Google as well as how to do Google. Well, first let's talk briefly in a very simplistic way about how Google fundamentally works. Google has computer programs called bots. Some people call them spiders. So the web spider is really just a computer program. And it runs around the internet. And it goes through, and this goes through cycles, sometimes every few weeks. So you'll notice when you first put up a new website, it doesn't appear on Google at all. It takes time. And then maybe a few weeks later, Google will go through it. And you said, well, that's not very good. I need to change a few things. Well, then Google, and you say, well, Google's taking its time. Yes, because the spider has to come around to you again. Now, Google is getting faster and faster at this, so your updates are being reflected more. But what does Google look for when it crawls the web? Can you hear me? All right. When it goes to a website, Google is accumulating the data on the website, in particular the words. Why? Because that's how human beings search for things. Some people do image searches, and image searching has become more and more popular. But obviously, Google has a hard time recognizing what's in a photo. So you may say, well, you know, we have tons of pictures on our website will come up in Google image search. Not necessarily. And we'll talk about how to name photos in a second. Instead, Google goes to your website, it collects all the words, and then it creates an index. Basically, it's recreating your website on its own servers. So basically, Google has warehouses full of computer servers where they essentially duplicated the entire internet. But your website is assigned different values, different judgments, different codes within Google's data algorithm. So one thing to make sure is, rule one, when you have a website, make sure it is crawlable, that Google can access it. On most WordPress websites, it's a click of a button. But I just encountered one of my clients has had his website up for 5 years, but the programmer never clicked a button to make it available. So one little click, make it crawlable. Very, very, very basic stuff. Now, one thing I want to note is that I'm going to talk a little bit about programming today, but search engine optimization is no longer just about programmers. As you'll find out, it's a really creative sport, and it's moving into the field of communications and further away from the programming. I'll show you why. Well, first I need you to memorize this formula and use it. No, that's for PhD students. If you were a PhD in communication, you would have to memorize this formula and apply it. This is from Google's patent. And what made it different from other search engines, because Google wasn't the first. There are lots of search engines before it. Most of you are too young to remember search engines like Alta Vista and Excite. Yeah, I'm really dating myself. Yes, back in the 90s, we had other search engines. But Google destroyed them. Why? Because Google was the first search engine to put human beings in their formula. Previous search engines focused mostly on words. How many times a word appeared on a website. So if you're looking for football game, the old search engines would favor every site that said football game, football game, football game, football game, football game, which made for some terrible websites. They're like, this is not what I want. I don't want a website that's covered with spammy words. So Google says, words are still important to us. But more importantly, we want human judgment of websites. We want human beings to tell us which sites are good. Now, how could they possibly do that? Because there are millions of websites in the world, and as rich as Google is, it can't hire enough people to evaluate every website on the planet. So instead, what they said was, what do people do when they find a website interesting? Well, a couple things. One, they link to it. So instead of formulas, since we're communication people, let's look at cartoons. All right? Sorry, I'm losing my voice already. Each of these happy faces represents a website. The bigger faces are more important websites, what Google considers authoritative websites. So Google loves government websites because, this may be debatable, but the government never lies. It's trustworthy. It's debatable. So Google gives it a lot of authority. Universities have a lot of authority. Google really loves university websites. Newspapers have a lot of authority. So when these big authority sites link to another site, so think of these little arms as a link. What that does is it lends some power to the little sites. We call it, in slang terms, we call it link juice. We give it a little power. So one of my perks of teaching at USC is that USC links to my website. My tiny little website got a huge boost when USC pointed to it. Because in Google's eyes, USC would never link to a spam website. USC would only link to an important website. What also helps is I do interviews. And when I do interviews with a newspaper, they link to my website. So when the newspaper links to me and says, oh, Google thinks I'm an important website. Now, you all know, how do you get your story in a newspaper? Annenberg people? How do you get your story in a newspaper? I'm going to cold call. PR. Right? We have an entire department devoted to public relations at Annenberg. So guess what? Your programmers are important, but so is your public relations representative, your public relations executive, because they'll get your stories in the New York Times, because the New York Times writes about your little company. Its Google rank goes up. Now it also works in reverse. These are little tiny websites. They're blogs maybe. And each of them doesn't have a lot of link juice by itself. But together they add up. And if they all point to a website, it gets bigger. So imagine we have, this is the LA Times, and the Los Angeles Times writes a story about USC football. So all these little blogs about football link back to the Los Angeles Times. That gives the Los Angeles Times more link juice because it's competing against the New York Times, the Washington Post, all these other newspapers. So the LA Times is even in the business of getting these links. And there's a word for these links, they call them backlinks. We're going to write a story and someone's going to link back to us. And that really was the key distinction of Google. It counted the backlinks. It said, who did the backlinks come from and what did they point to? So, for us communication people, it wasn't just about computer programming, it was about coming up with good stories. Coming up with a good reason for anyone to link to us. You might start a business, you might want to start a new bookstore online. But unless you're interesting and nobody links to you, Google doesn't care as much. So when you start your new bookstore online, you have to think, why is anyone going to point to us? Why is anyone going to link to us? Why would a little blogger write about me? If you're into fashion, you may reach out to the fashion bloggers. Now you suddenly realize this is the value of social media. Likes are garbage. Follows are garbage in social media. What's valuable in social media is getting to know the bloggers and having the bloggers link to you from their websites, not from social networks. Google does not count links from social networks. That's really important to remember. Because people have put so much emphasis on social media marketing that they're sacrificing the backlinks. If somebody links to you from Twitter, it doesn't count. Because Google says that can be cheated. You can just run a program to link to you all day long. It has to be a link from another website. And that's what will boost you. Any questions? Yes?
Is it helping you link to yourself on different pages?
Not really. Now, if you have two sites, they can share the Google rank. But one thing that Google will penalize is what's called a link farm. People who build 1 million websites just to link back to themselves, no, that actually works against you. So, any other questions? Good question. So we want these backlinks. Yes, sir.
I have a question. So for the place where I was working at, I had like a debate with my coworkers, and so their old website was basically trash. But what I did is because they wanted me to set up a redirect on it, so that we could get more people to go to our new website. But now that our new website has been third place on Google for about a year now, should I take off the redirect and just direct them directly to the new website?
I'd have to compare the two websites, how they
The old
produce.
one's blank. It just there's
Then
no-
I would get rid of the redirect because after a while Google is going to penalize the old website.
Okay, I'll tell my coworker that.
Yeah, and we'll talk about this in just a second, why old websites are not good websites. All right? So this business of getting people to link back to you, it's often called off-site SEO because it's nothing you can do on your own website, really. You're going out in the world and you're talking to the LA Times, you're talking to the bloggers, you're teaching a class at USC, so you get linked back to. It's also called link building, and we create content, and the content is link bait, just like fishing. You want people to link to me. Now, you can certainly ask people to do that, but in most cases, that's a lot of work for very little return. And unless it's a link back from USC or the LA Times, it's probably not worth your time. Instead, we create content. We create stories that people are interested in. So another thing is you never ever pay for a backlink. Don't ever go to somebody, I'll pay you $100 to link back to me. Because Google, if they find out, everyone is punished. Now, Google's not the government. You're not going to go to jail. You're just violating Google's own terms of service. And when Google punishes you, it just means that when somebody searches for you, you no longer exist. And that can cost you a lot of money. There's a company you may have heard of called JCPenney, right? Big department store. One year, their web agency, unbeknownst to JCPenney, their own web agency went out and bought a lot of backlinks. Google found out because they said, we've been following this agency for a long time. And we notice whenever they have a client, all the links come from the same sites. That's really strange when JCPenney and the Los Angeles Rams and MGM Studios all are linked to from the same sites. It's really strange. So Google did its research and said, yep, that's black hat SEO. JCPenney is now blacklisted. And this happened just before Christmas. The estimated losses were in the tens of millions of dollars for JCPenney to be off the internet, off search engines just before Christmas. Now, JCPenney has power. They were able to call up Google, arrange a meeting, apologize, fire their agency, and get back on. If you're a little company, it's not so easy. It can take a year or more to get back on. So just as a rule, never pay for backlinks. If you hire a search engine consultant, find out how they're going to get you those backlinks. If they say, I've got a farm, I've got a network, I've got partnerships, fire them. Don't even talk to them. A PR agent is different because a PR agent says, I have relationships at the Boston Globe, the Washington Post, the New York Times. I can get you your stories on those websites and maybe some backlinks. That's good. So natural backlinks is what you want. Now, when people ask Google, well, give us more advice. As I said, Google doesn't want you to figure out how they work. So Google likes to answer in really vague terms. Create high-quality content, and other sites will naturally link back to you. Well, as my students in my classes know, I don't let them use the words high quality. I was like, what does high quality even mean? We'll get to that in a bit. Instead, you want stuff that you have to know your newspapers and your journalists. You have to know them and understand what are the kinds of things they like to write about. What are the kinds of things they want to link back to. Obviously, if Apple comes out with brand new iPads like they did yesterday, journalists are going to write about it. You'll be in the LA Times because you're Apple. But if you're Freddy's Computers and no one's ever heard of you, LA Times is going to write about you unless you can have an app that makes you invisible or something amazing. So really, I don't like the words high quality. I like an even more abstract term, amazing content. And that's where Annenberg people come in. Because the guys at the business school don't know what amazing is. They calculate everything on spreadsheets. Engineering doesn't know what amazing means. Engineering just can make your website crawlable. It's up to you, people with imagination and creativity, that can create that amazing content that people want to write about. Just a term, anchor text. The words people use when they link back to you, because Google looks at this. So if somebody's linking back to USC, and they use this anchor text as part of their link, USC will now rank for great school. But if somebody else writes party school, another one writes party school, another one writes party school, we'll also rank pretty high for this. So it depends on what people say. And the things that there may be anchor text that you don't want. I'm sure USC doesn't love the idea of being called a party school. The students love it. Like, yeah, I want to go there. Schools, not so much. So there's also strategy in how people talk about you. Again, that's public relations. See how far we've drifted already from basic programming. It's changing people's impressions. You can imagine, without getting too political, you can imagine the words people are using to link back to the White House these days. What anchor text is being used, right? So, or you can imagine if you ever decide to Google boring movie, let's see what it links back to. All right, so the words people use are important. I just mentioned this earlier. The links back from social media are called do not follow links, which means Google does not follow them. It does not care if people link to you on Facebook. Not even on Google's own social network. You remember Google had a social network? Complete disaster. But Google Plus links don't matter because all these people started creating Google Plus accounts thinking it'd help their SEO, made zero difference. I think because Google did not want to be sued by the European Union again. Yes?
Does anchor text in social media count?
No.
Just websites?
No. Now there's one way, and we'll talk about this later, how social media can help you. Yes, sir. Did you have a question?
Yeah, you mentioned that you should try to create amazing, fabulous content that
Right.
people will want to look at. But doesn't that suggest that the most extreme and perhaps even the fakest news will generate a lot of
Yes.
backlinks?
Yes, and there have been a lot of stories written just in the past month about this problem, Google's fake news problem. Because the fake news does get the backlinks. And people are like, it's amazing, we're being spied on by Martians, right? So that fake news does get a lot of backlinks. It also, because amazing is being seen as extreme, people who are conservative and neutral rarely get backlinks. It's loud, argumentative articles, which is why most academic journal articles don't get a lot of backlinks unless they're the basis of research. Rather, it's the really loud blogger on some website that gets a lot of backlinks. Right? Now, when you have your amazing content, as I mentioned earlier, do promote it. If you send out a press release these days, and press releases are now more important than ever. The old is new again. Be sure that your press release has links in it. Complete links, http://. So that way, sometimes if a publication just runs your story as is, it may automatically link. Create shareable content. Now, don't necessarily ask for links, but you can. And what do I mean about shareable content? Well, like a cartoon. If I'm a cartoonist, I would say, I've just drawn a cartoon. Feel free to use my cartoon on your website. I don't want money. I just want a link back to me. And I've done this for people too. They see an article that I've written. Freddie, can I reprint your article? Like, yeah, go ahead. Just link back to me. Organizations will do this too. The Better Business Bureau. You pay them $300 a year. They certify that you're a legitimate business with evaluations, and they ask all their members to link back to the BBB. Well, you can imagine if you have thousands of small businesses linking back to you, your website ranks highly. And then, these guys were really clever, artificial award shows. So people just get together and they create their own awards. And what happens when somebody gets an award? I call up and I say, yeah. I say, Raja, you just won an award for most attractive website done by a USC student. So he's all excited, so he links back to it. He doesn't know that I've handed out the same award to a million different people. Everyone loves awards, so this was brilliant, creating an award show. So lots of strategies in terms of creating content and getting people to link back. And towards this gentleman's point, yeah, this favors controversy over quality. And we'll talk about how Google has tried to compensate for this too, because this did become a problem to the point where there was a guy in New York City who ran an eyeglasses company. He was an optometrist. So his way to get backlinks was to cheat his customers, threaten their lives. He said, if you complain about me, I know where you live, I will come over and kill you. So all these people linked back to him saying, this optometrist is evil. And when somebody Googled New York City optometrist, he ranked #1. Because he was so evil, people had to write about him. And the newspapers wrote about him. Well, I don't recommend that because now he's in jail. Apparently it's against the law to threaten to kill people. So don't go to jail for a Google rank. It's not worth it, okay? And Google has been trying, because of incidents like that, Google's been trying to fix that. How do we keep these people from doing something extreme? Well, instead of going to jail, why don't we try to do something creative? Imagine that you have a client and they are the most boring client in the world. And I think there could be few more boring clients than a parking garage. Hey, we've got a parking garage near LAX, $8 a day. Not a whole lot of sex appeal in that, is there? Why would anyone link back to you? So this article, and by the way, one of my favorite websites for all SEO is Moz, M-O-Z. Free site. They have a lot of tools, a lot of articles, and they have some premium features, but the free stuff is amazing. They ran an article on how to do content marketing for boring businesses. Because let's be honest, all of us want to work for a fun, sexy company like Disney or Nike or Apple. Instead, we wind up working for our father's construction company. Right? Yeah, my father's company makes socks. Not too sexy. But they said that's self-defeating. So they just did your typical brainstorming exercise, and they came up with anything related to parking. We're going to start with parking. Well, what do you think about when you think about parking? How about driving? Driving what? Driving habits. How about driving men and women? And they said, wow, that could be an interesting feature on our website. Who are better drivers? And everyone wants to know that. And yes, ladies, you are the better drivers, just so you know. Gentlemen, we have to do a better job, just so you know. But, so this is a British parking garage, town center car parks. They put up this blog on their site, or this little feature, and if you go down, it's really cute. There are all sorts of illustrations. It's really a fun feature. They got so many backlinks for this story. So what happened is then their link juice, their PageRank went up, so people looking for parking garage, town center car parks came up. With stuff like fun company. Fun? We've never been called fun in our lives. Fun? Another one, test your knowledge of street signs, road signs from around the world. Again, this is something, any of you can do this. You don't need a PhD in communications. In fact, the PhDs would probably struggle to come up with ideas like this. Instead, you're using your imagination. What are people interested in? Now, there's another element to this too. I talked to you about backlinks. Something else, and I'll talk more about this in a little bit. The time that somebody spends on your website also matters. If they click on things on your website, it matters. If they just scroll, because they're just reading more of the article, that matters. Google's tracking that. How does Google track that? It's a little creepy, right? Google is Big Brother. Google's watching everything we do. Any website that installs Google Analytics is being watched by Google. And your customer behavior is being watched by Google Analytics. How many of you use a Chrome browser? Google's watching your behavior. It's not recording your name, because then it would get in trouble and then be hired by Putin to track people. Instead, Google's just tracking which websites are getting the most activity, the most engagement. Now, you may have heard the word engagement used with social media. Everyone wants engagement on social media. I would say that's cute, but it's almost worthless. Engagement on a website, on the other hand, is valuable. So why are you putting all your fun stuff on Facebook when all your fun stuff should be on your website? Because you're just doing Facebook favors instead of your own website. So if you have a fun article like this, and I've seen companies do this, hey, let's create some cool content, put it on Facebook, put it on Instagram. I was like, no, advertise it on Facebook, put it on your website, because when people, you don't want people linking to Facebook, you want people linking to your website. You want people reading the story on your website. You want people scrolling and clicking on your website. That's where the creativity comes in. Even videos. I'm going to show you a video now from a high-end blender company. How many of you have heard of a company called BlendTech? A few, pretty much a minority. How many of you have heard of a company called Panasonic? Okay. BlendTech versus Panasonic. It sounds like a really, really bad matchup, right? It's not a fight you want to see. But guess what? In search engine optimization, when it came time to type in to search for industrial blenders, because BlendTech makes really, really powerful blenders. These are designed for restaurants and laboratories. Powerful blenders, BlendTech does just as well as Panasonic does. How did they do that? Content. So they created, any of you see this Will It Blend series? How did you see it? YouTube? Somebody shared it with you?
When the first iPhone came out, they put it in a blender.
Right. So let's see an example of creative content. So here's a guy. Somebody tells him, go make a video. He goes, I'm a startup company. I'm not going to go hire, Justin Bieber to appear in my video. I don't have that kind of money. I'll have to be my own actor, and I can't afford studio space, so I'm just going to convert the garage in my home. And this is what he came up with.
Will it blend? That is the question. Now we're going to do something kind of unique here. Here I have a dozen light sticks, and these are break and shake light sticks. They last for 12 hours. Now it says on the instructions, do not puncture, cut, or bite into light stick. Now it doesn't say don't blend the light stick. Let's turn the lights off for effect. That is a 12-hour lantern. Don't drink this.
Okay. So he made a lot of these videos. iPhone was something that he threw in there. He's ground up golf balls. He ground up a Barbie doll, right? So he did a whole bunch of these to demonstrate the power of his blender. Pretty impressive stuff. But he didn't just do it as a product demonstration. This was marketing, because he had to go up against Panasonic. He also knew that a giant corporation like Panasonic would never, ever take this kind of creative risk. Panasonic's lawyers are like, oh no, someone's going to drink that and sue you. And he's like, I'm a small business, I have to take risks. And it paid off for him in a really big way. Who do you think linked back to his videos? What kind of people? Bloggers. What kind of bloggers?
Reblog photo videos.
Yeah. Funny videos.
What's
Yeah. Tech videos. Gadget videos. Even cooking blogs. I meant blogs, right? They're like, wow, I have to chop up almonds to make my own almond milk. If this thing can grind up, a golf ball, it can certainly grind up almonds for my almond milk. So in the beginning, he had his own separate website, and eventually he merged it all into one. Because in the beginning, he wasn't so sure. Do I take this risk? But as you asked earlier, if you have two websites linked to each other, they will share the same ranking. So the videos didn't do so badly, 300 million video views. But as I teach in my classes, so what? Views don't translate, don't mean sales, and you can buy views. So 300 million views, that's cute. 26,000 links to his parent company website. But here's the jackpot, 10 million links. Million. All the bloggers around the world, newspapers wrote about him. All these sites linked back to here, and then he merged them and created a ton of backlinks on one website. And again, numbers are cute, but this is the only number that I really care about because I'm into business consulting. 700% sales increase in 2 years. And each of those videos costs him about $10,000 because he uses a professional camera guy. So this is the power of SEO by using creative content. All right? And I mentioned that. So now let's talk about, so now we know the creative side. I hope I've impressed that upon you. Now let's talk about some of the mechanics, the fundamentals of how to appeal to Google and help this crawler, this bot, find you. Now what Google loves to eat most of all is fresh words. And I put an emphasis on fresh. This gentleman asked me before about an old website. If your website is not updated in a while, Google starts to sync it. Because Google will say, that maybe is an abandoned website. The internet is covered with abandoned websites, and that doesn't make a very good search result if you're searching for something. You don't want an old website, you don't want old news. So if you don't update your website regularly, it starts to sink. Which is why for my clients, when they build a website, I always say you need a news section, or a blog section, or specials of the day section. You need something new on your website on a regular basis. Don't just build it and leave it. Fresh, and more importantly, it has to have words. The kind of words, HTML. HTML is the basic programming language for the web, right? Just remember, not images. So, this is an image. The word searching appears in it. Worthless, because Google can't read the image. I have seen websites, I've seen a restaurant website where every page was a photograph, even their menu. Because they had a designer, they made it all fancy. It's like, well, that's cute, but Google can't read your menu now because it's entirely photographs. So anything you put in a photograph, those charts that you made really nicely, and you made a JPEG of your chart, and you put it on your website, Google can't read that chart. It just sees image. So we need regular words. And more than that, we call them keywords. Keywords, it could be a phrase. Keywords are, what are people going to use to find us? What do we want to be found for? Right? So we think about that. So if I'm doing keywords for Annenberg, I'll think of keywords like communication program, journalism degree, PhD in communication management. I make lists. And again, this is not programming. This is knowing your customers and what you want them to search for. So it's really a marketing thing, is knowing these keywords and what people are going to search for to find them. Think about this for yourself too, and I hope This class motivates you all to build your own website. What words do you want people to find you for? Right? Yes?
On a site like WordPress, does it matter whether those keywords are in the tags or the body text?
Tags are really important, and body tag, both. Okay. Both, that's the answer. And I'll tell you in a second which ones Google prioritizes. So we come up with lists of words, and we try to think, what are people going to search for? Now, there are a couple of tools that we can use. I'm going to show you a couple of these tools. So one is Google Keyword Planner. You have to have an account with Google in order to use this. And Keyword Planner is really designed for their advertising program, but I also use it for SEO because I like keywords. So let's say I am advertising a journalism program, right? We'll skip all the variables for now. And what this does, Google's giving me this information because they're hoping I'm going to run some ads for Annenberg. But I'm cheap. I'm not going to run any ads. Instead, I want to find out what people are searching for. Google's going to tell me. They're not going to give me exact numbers until I spend the money. They're just going to give me some ranges, some really broad ranges. But I could see these are keywords: journalism courses, journalism schools, journalism degree, masters in journalism, not MA. People aren't searching for MA, they're searching for masters, right? Journalism colleges, top journalism schools, journalism major. So Google's suggesting this to me. It's telling me how many monthly searches. This is the United States. We can set different countries over here on the side. But about 10,000 to 100,000 a month, right? Notice that journalism courses has fewer searches than journalism schools. Competition only tells me how many other companies are looking to use these words for advertising. We don't have to worry too much about that for SEO. This is also how much they're willing to pay per click on their ad. I bet you didn't know if you clicked on an ad for USC Annenberg, you were costing Annenberg $25. So don't do that, okay? But do it to other schools. All right, click on their ads, cost them $25. So we can use this tool, and it'll give us suggestions of what people are looking for. So now there's something else that we can look at over here too. There's something called Google Trends. It's also free. And Google Trends tells you what are people looking for right now. But you can also do some research. And we wait for USC's Wi-Fi. Here we go. So these right now are stories trending. These are the hottest searches on the internet right now. And it's not too useful for us because it's right now. And by the time we put something up on our website and have Google crawl it, it'll be too late. But you can see, obviously, there was a terrorist attack in London. People are searching London, right? Basketball is going on right now. People are searching basketball. But what we can do, we can go up and explore some topics and see what people are looking for. Let's look up something called the University of Southern California. And we wait, and we wait, and we wait. And we could tell interest by region, where the search is coming from. US, India, Canada, United Kingdom. Obviously not China because Google's not used in China, but the searches are coming from there. But this is what people are searching for. Game design, field of study. 250% surge in the research for game design at USC. Now, if I work in marketing for USC, I'm thinking we have an advantage. People are interested, maybe a few more articles about this. on our website. But we're finding out that people are still searching for the USC academic calendar from 2012. Why are they doing? Oh, that's because this is a 5-year chart. People are also looking for the calendar. So we are, yes, sir.
Sorry, what's the difference between related topics and related queries?
So topics is broad category. Queries are the things that actual people are typing. So this is the broad topic, which may have a lot of different things underneath it. So let's say we click on one of these topics.
That's something Google has aggregated itself.
Yeah, this is all straight from the... Look where the interest is coming from. Kuwait, Saudi Arabia, Yemen, Oman. It tells me we could have a lot more students if we stepped up our marketing in those regions of the world, right? So here are your related topics, what people are looking for. And so if I am running the game program here at USC, and I have a blog for my program, I'm like, when was the last time we wrote an article about HTML5? Never. People are searching for it. Why don't we write about it? We're getting a lot of interest from people from the Middle East region of the world. When was the last time we featured a student from that region of the world? And that might encourage them to apply. So Google Trends can help you even come up with ideas for blogs because you can see what people are looking for. We don't have to always guess. We go into Google Trends and find out. There's one other tool that you can use, and it's called Google. And Google has this thing called autocomplete. Why are men... Can you read that? Why are men so mean? If I'm over at the psychology department, maybe I have an article on that. Why are men so mean? You know, variables in the estimations of animosity amongst the genders, right? Why are men's haircuts so expensive? If you run Floyd's Barbershop, you can actually have an article about that answer. Here's what goes into a good haircut. But by the way, our haircuts aren't all that expensive. And then, that's an interesting third topic. Why are menstrual cramps worse at night? Well, if you're running a women's health and beauty website, maybe that's a topic for an article. This is what we're doing. So, okay. PR department. So here's the thing. As a marketer, as a content strategist, I know USC doesn't want to answer these questions. But if we don't answer them, somebody else will. Why is USC so expensive? Let's take it upon ourselves to write the definitive article. And USC, because as I said, USC favors our brand, what we say about ourselves is going to rank higher than what UCLA says. Because we certainly don't want UCLA to answer that question for us. If I'm over at UCLA, I'm writing that article. Okay? Why is USC better than UCLA? Somebody's asking. Now, we don't have to necessarily put the article on our own website. We can write an article and send it out to bloggers and journalists. 13 ways USC is better than UCLA. Okay? Why is... Yes, sir?
A quick question. So you had mentioned that these autocompletes and what Google shows you is different potentially for everybody based
Different
on your
potentially
habits.
for everybody, yeah.
Is there a way to get an unbiased kind of perspective?
Not really.
Okay.
I mean, you can mask. There are ways that you can hide your identity using a virtual private network, that kind of thing. But I think it helps to be in the market where you want to focus and do your searches from there. So these are just 3 quick and easy tools. At the end of the day, it's still up to your imagination, but this would be a great start. Why is USC so expensive? And you just go from there and just start brainstorming all the different reasons why USC is so expensive. It's the parking. As we all know. Okay. So these are all the different tools. Think also, what often doesn't show up is proper nouns, names of things, names of companies. certainly today, I'm walking around and there are all these TV trucks around campus. I'm like, why are there so many TV trucks? I hope nothing wrong happened. Oh no, it's pro day for the football team. So the TV trucks are here to cover the players. So if I'm USC, I'm going to want the names of the football players in the articles. Because we're getting up to the NFL draft and people are going to be looking up the names of football players. So to me, that's a key word if I'm USC. Got to get the names of the football players in an article, because if we don't put it in there, ESPN will, Sports Illustrated will, a football blogger will. Why don't we own our own names? Same with our professors. Let's do more articles about our professors. Same with our students. Let's do more articles about our students. Because how wonderful would that be for a student if somebody were to Google your name and USC wrote a great story about you? So we also try to think of proper nouns. When I do my blog, I will evaluate company marketing campaigns. Now, I'm not going to do the big companies like Apple, because the big magazines, the big newspapers are all reviewing Apple, and I'm not going to compete against the big newspapers. But if I write about a smaller company, I wrote about a company called Skull Candy. They do headphones. And I wrote about them when they first launched. And a few years later, I was getting calls from journalists to comment on Skull Candy. And only because I used their name prominently as a keyword. Any questions? All right, let's keep forging on. So we come up with our list of names. And we may have hundreds of words, and we keep track of the news, and we say, when's a good time to write an article about this? When's a good time to write an article about this? Don't worry about synonyms, all right? Google knows that USC and University of Southern California are the same thing. So we don't have to obsess over all the things. Google knows that marketing class and marketing course are the same thing. So we don't have to worry about having both words. It is 1 o'clock in case some of you have to catch class. So that was a program called Google Hummingbird, which helped people use their synonyms or even the order of the words. Marketing course versus courses on marketing, the order doesn't matter because Hummingbird figures that out. So don't obsess over having every single synonym of every single word. The big topics are what matter. Now, what do you do with these words? See them here if you want. Work them into your text naturally. And this is why you have a professional writer. I have seen articles written by programmers, and no offense to programmers, but that's not their skill set. We need it to sound natural, because if it just says, the same words, marketing course, marketing course, marketing course, that doesn't look good to the human reader, and it also looks bad to Google. In fact, just putting a bunch of words on a page, there's a term for it. It's called keyword stuffing, like stuffing a turkey. And that's bad. So having lists of words doesn't help. You want to work it into the text maybe 2 to 3 times in a very natural way. And as this young woman asked earlier, where does it matter most? Near the top or the beginning of the article, particularly the headline. Because Google says, well, headlines are really important. Because headlines tell everyone what the story is going to be about. Which means put some thought into your headlines. I have seen some terrible headlines on websites. The worst headline in the world, about us. 99% of websites have a page called About Us, as opposed to About the USC Journalism Program. Now I've got some keywords in there, USC Journalism, right? About why USC is so much better than UCLA, right? We make our headlines robust with keywords so much more interesting. Another terrible headline, continued. Continued from page 1. That's a horrible headline because it doesn't contain any keywords. No one has ever searched for that in the history of the world. I am looking for continued from page 1. Right? But we see it as a headline all the time as opposed to why is USC so expensive, continued from page 1. Now we've got our keywords in there. Yes, sir.
Sorry, quick
No,
question.
please.
So, for an e-commerce website,
Yeah.
let's say you're selling a bunch of products,
Yeah.
there's sort of no flow between the words if you have like 50 different products and
No.
product names.
No.
How do you make it more natural?
So, what you can is like, we carry multiple products, including Seiko, Citizen, Orient. You know, you're listing watches. Some lists, but if they go to your website and all it is a list like this, Google will just ignore that list. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So, have a writer, but there are places you can also work it into naturally. Obviously, the website name. Now, when I named my agency, I called it Atomic Tango for various reasons. I like the sound of it, right? But now I get people coming to my website looking for a dance school. And the last thing I'm even allowed to teach is dancing. I'm banned from teaching dancing. Okay, you don't want to see me dance. So if I were to name my website again, I might go with Atomic Tango Marketing. Instead, I've used marketing elsewhere. The web address. Sometimes you put keywords in there. Sometimes I see web addresses that leave out keywords altogether. I'll see usc.edu/story1a2z because they coded it so it would fit their file folder on their Mac, right? So the web addresses say what the article is about. Have some words in there, not story number 2, story number 3, story number 4, executive number 1, executive number 2. Put the name of the executive, then say executive number 1. Right? Title tags. Title tags are these words up here. These matter. And you may need the help of your programmer to make sure the keywords go up here. And again, often the title tags have such wonderful names as About Us, or my favorite, Home. Right? No one has ever Googled home. Right? So your title tags up here are important. Headlines, subheads, we talked about this. But one thing I want to emphasize is photos. Because I said earlier, Google can't recognize photos that well yet. They're working on it. The scientists up there in Mountain View are making it so, you know, right now, Google can recognize a cat picture because cats are the most important thing in the world. I say so because I have 4 cats. But most Google can't read a photo. Well, Google, to identify what a photo is, Google looks for the words around the photo. Yes, sir?
I'm wondering what your thoughts are in like dashes or periods, specifically in like URLs, like Atomic Dash Tango versus.
It really doesn't have an effect. It really doesn't. In photos, since Google can't read the photo, it looks at the caption. Just like a human being does. We do this when we read a magazine or go to a website. The human eye goes through the photos first, and then we read the caption underneath it. So when you write that caption, put some keywords in there. Not just photo by John Smith. Photo of USC quarterback Sam Darnold by John Smith. Right? The photo file names. What do you name your photo? I find this in almost every single client's website. They number their photos. 1a.jpg, 2z.jpg, jane1.jpg. Name your photos. Put the keywords in the names. Right? And then there's something called alt text. Alt text was designed to help blind people surf the internet. Because blind people have readers, automated readers, and they will say, this is a picture of a cat. And what the alt text, what the reader looks for is whenever you hover over a picture, sometimes you see some yellow words pop up. That's your alt text. That's important to Google because you're sending a message to the reader. And think about your poor blind users who get, this is photo 1A. Thanks. Thanks for the deep information. So naming your photos is really important. Same thing with videos. Google can't watch a video. Google has no idea what's in a video. It's what you name a video. I once did a project for Barnes & Noble, and they were numbering the videos, BN 101, BN 102. And I was like, no wonder you're not turning up when people search for Barnes & Noble videos. You're not turning up at all. Google can't read animations. Google can't listen to audio.
So whenever you have any kind of rich media, you either need to describe what exactly is in it, or you do like public radio does and have an entire transcript. They have somebody sit there and type out every single word that's said in the interview, because that's what Google can find. If your website is password protected, Google's not going to go inside. It's not going to look, because if a human being can't look, Google's not going to look. If you have an orphan page, you create a page on your website that nothing else links to. It's just a page by itself. Maybe you created it for your client, so only your client can see this is what the sample ad will look like. Google won't look it up. Because Google says, obviously you did not want human beings to look for that page. We're not going to look for it either. So that means if you want Google to find a page, link to it from other parts of your website. Right? Okay, and there's one little distinction here. Meta description versus meta keyword. They're very different. Very, very different things. Meta keyword tags were, once upon a time, words that were in the programming that only a computer could read. And people were cheating. So they would say, like, all this code, you'd have an exciting website like an accounting firm, and the meta tag would say sexy photos of Justin Bieber. So someone looking for sexy photos of Justin Bieber gets the accounting firm. I was like, my life is ruined, right? You're traumatized because that's not what you were expecting. So those invisible words inside computer programming, Google doesn't pay attention to them anymore. You can put them all day long. Meta keyword tags are ignored by Google. The meta description is completely different. The meta description does not affect your SEO ranking. The meta description is what people see when they type in, I don't know, why is USC better than... This is the meta description. This is the meta description right here. Now, if you leave it up to Google, Google's just gonna grab the first 2 sentences or so. But you yourself, with the help of your programmer, can write your own description. And I recommend it. It will not affect your SEO ranking. It will affect your human being interaction. Because this is what we do, right? We look at this up, and then we start reading, and we're like, I don't care, I don't care, I don't care. Oh, this is interesting. SEO is a marketing tool. Okay. Any questions of what Google loves to eat? Yes?
Why did photo file names have to be short?
Say that again, I'm
Why
sorry.
did photo file names have to be short?
It's not so much that they have to be, it's just that if it's too long, Google's only going to look at the first few words anyway. So if it's like 100 words in there, you're just going to copy it. Google may actually even ignore it, because it may look like you're a keyword stuffing. Any other questions? Good questions, by the way. All right. And as I said, keep it fresh. Unique blogs, news, and features. And you will notice I capitalized unique. If you take a story from someplace else, Google won't cover it. So I've seen people, I ran into a client, and their company blog was actually reprinting stories from newspapers and magazines. And I said, there's 2 problems with that. 1, Google's going to ignore it because it originally appeared elsewhere. 2, you just violated copyright law of the United States. So let's take down your entire blog and start over with the original content. Okay? So if you have an article that's printed someplace else, I had a former student who's creating her own online portfolio of work. And she was a writer. So she was taking all her articles that appeared elsewhere on the internet and put it on her own blog. And she said, I've got so many words on my blog, why am I not getting a lot of traffic? And I said, because your stories were published someplace else first. So Google is going to favor the original posting. So just reprinting something on your website doesn't help. I said, if
You're going to need to write a new description or even just create original content for your blog. So don't just copy and paste. You really do need to create something new on your website. All right. Let's talk about, yes, sir.
Does Google learn?
Yes.
You mentioned earlier that USC and the University of Southern California, Google recognize that they're the same thing. But
Yeah.
if you put in USC, sometimes you get the University of South Carolina.
Well.
But if you keep looking for USC, it'll eventually read that out.
Yeah, so well, what happens is that you type in USC, and Google, in the beginning, on day one, will serve up both options. But then they'll see what people are clicking on. And we all know they're going to click on us, unless there's doubt. But if you're in South Carolina and you're searching that, or if you're in Georgia or Florida and you search USC, you may get the University of South Carolina. Because they say, well, if you're in Georgia, you probably want the other SEC school, not the school out in Los Angeles. So it depends on location too, but it also depends on what people are voting with their clicks. Oh, I'm looking for USC. Yes, I want the Southern California. This is how Google determines what to rank, people's click activity. So if you're looking for best college in Los Angeles, they'll serve up a bunch of colleges and Google will count people's clicks. What do people like most? What do people link to? If everyone clicks USC, well, that helps. So let's talk about the dark side of the force. Things that will get you in trouble and that are still being sold by consultants. So be careful when a consultant offers you any of these. So you don't want to deal with this guy. Okay? You want to deal with Google's penguins. Because the penguin programming, the penguin updates try to combat all these black hat activities. Cloaking. What you search for isn't what you get. You type in, I'm looking for a journalism program, you come to a website that's trying to sell you cheap Canadian pharmaceuticals. You know, they cheated. They used fake words. Penguin got rid of that. All right? Linking to spam. So, remember I said before, USC, the LA Times are considered authoritative because they would never link to a garbage website. There are sites out there which do pretend to be content sites. And you look at them and you're like, okay, tips for studying, right? I need some tips for studying. You go to a website and you're like, oh, this has some really, and they link for more information, click here. But when you click there, it's all to spam sites. Cheap pharmaceuticals, you know, do you need a girlfriend? That kind of stuff. And you're like, yes, I need that stuff, but that's not going to help me study. So what Google said is like, even though your site has all this helpful content for students, we're still going to punish it. Because you're sending people to spam. The reason your site exists is to market crap. And so they are going to punish you for that.
I have a question about that.
Yeah.
Like sometimes you see articles that say 20 celebrities you didn't know were dead, and then there's a picture of Angelina Jolie, for example. Does that count as that? Or? It
depends on what you get once you go to that page.
Yeah.
If it is actually pictures of Angelina Jolie.
But we all know she's alive, she's not dead. So
oh, you mean the fake
kind of
news?
Misleading, yeah.
Well, we talked about it earlier. Yeah, fake news does rank on Google.
Yeah.
And they're trying to get rid of it by looking at and how they will tell if that's fake news. If you're a non-believer, if you know Angelina Jolie is still alive, and you go to that website and you say, "Oh, this is a bunch of garbage," and you go back, Google will punish that site for every person who goes there and then goes back. So it's up to human behavior. But if you go to that site and you keep on clicking for more news, Google's like, well, it must be legitimate news. And only when people flag it and say, hey, Google, this is fake news, then they actually send in a human research team to evaluate. But they can't keep up. The propaganda machines are too fast right now. We talk about keyword stuffing. Don't just throw a whole bunch of words on a page. Duplicate content through the site. This was done making people think that, okay, I have a few products, but if I reword the articles a little bit, I could talk about the same product 17 different times. Google's like, no, you can't. We've seen your one article, and now you just keep rewriting the same article. Forget about it. Right? Hidden text. People are sneaky. They would actually do white text on a white background.
So Google said, if a human being can't read it, we won't read it either. So don't give us white words on a white background. It's not going to work. Content theft, stealing articles from somebody else. Because this was a popular method by spammers. When I first started blogging, I would find my blog articles on other websites. I was like, I never gave them permission to do that. That has stopped since Penguin came out. Because Google no longer rewarded people for stealing articles. Right? And Penguin, really in particular, their big focus is unnatural links. Why would, your site, you just launched a website, and the next day you have 1,000 backlinks, but you didn't do anything? That's unnatural. That doesn't make sense. Right? You have a site about marketing, but you're getting links from all sites that have nothing to do with marketing. Football sites, Viagra sites, movie sites. That seems unnatural to us. You may have bought those. So this is why any of this, and the funny thing is, this will work for about 24 hours. And so the consultant says, see, I told you you're on page 1. And you're really happy, and you go to your boss with a presentation the next day, and you're no longer on page 1. In fact, your site can't be found at all. And I was like, but the SEO consultant said that this works. So now you know what not to do. Don't buy links. Don't create fake farms, fake networks. A lot of times you notice, like this gentleman says, he's got this old site, right? But don't get rid of it. Don't sell it. Because somebody will buy it because it may have a search engine rank. They buy old sites so that way they can link. While your old site still has a page rank, they may link to other people from it. Okay.
So you mean like all those features that Black Hats SEO doesn't really have?
They work temporarily, but if you do them, they work for about a few days, and then you'll get punished when Google finds you out. So, and people are still doing this. I come across people still doing it all the time. Just so the risk is too high, it's not worth it. But this is also why, despite Google being so sophisticated, you will still find garbage websites in your searches. Google just hasn't caught up to all the garbage sites yet. Right? Okay, so this is what not to do. Well, let's talk about what should we actually do. And so there was another update called Google Panda, which is actually named one of their engineers who came up with this, Google Panda. So he looks like this. He said, we have an acronym called EAT. This is what Google loves to eat. We want sites by an expert. We want sites that are authoritative, and we want sites that are trustworthy. And again, we communication professors at Google, can you be any more vague? Can we get some specifics here? What does this mean? All right, well, this is what it means. An expert, just like a university professor or a football coach, right? Whoever your expert is named on many articles, not only on your website, but on the internet. So if everyone sees, Neil deGrasse Tyson, the astronomer, he's an expert. He's quoted in a lot of different places. They know that he's an expert on astronomy. Is your website focused on your area of expertise? I see students put up blogs, but the blogs go all over the place. One day they're talking about their favorite restaurant. The other day they say, go USC, just watch the Rose Bowl, it was awesome. And they keep changing topics. Well, Google says, we don't know what this site is about. It's about everything. So we're going to suppress it. We're not going to punish it. We just don't know what to favor it for. Right? And as I said, if your expert appears on many different platforms or sites. So again, this is a public relations tool. If you're doing SEO for a professor, that professor needs a PR rep. That professor needs their story on a lot of different websites. One of my clients is a nutritionist, and we work really hard to get her to appear in as many possible places, you calling her an expert. So that's why PR is still so important to SEO. Authority, this is the backlinks with strong anchor text. Backlinks that say, great website, expert nutritionist. The overall reputation brand of the company. And, which I said earlier, like you're never going to beat Apple at being Apple.
You can do SEO all day, and Apple will always rank first for Apple. And then sections. It doesn't have to be called About Us, but a website really needs a section which describes what is the website about, because Google is going to read it. And Google wants a clear contact section too, because fake sites don't give you contact information unless they're called Facebook. If you've ever tried to contact Facebook, it's impossible. But your authority is going to have a bio. Your authority is going to like how to reach Dr. Tyson. And trustworthy. You tell the truth, right? Your stuff is up to date, timely. Because if you are a doctor but you haven't updated your website in 15 years, you may not be as trustworthy as somebody who has published an article in the past 2 years. So your poor tenured professors just have to keep on publishing. Just have to keep working. And spam free. Keep all that out. And by the way, if anyone wants my slides, I see people typing feverishly and writing feverishly. My slides are available too. Erica will collect all your information and send out my slides.
Yeah.
Okay?
Thank you.
So again, Google with its high quality content will block the low quality stuff. So again, it means not thin. If you're going to write an article, it better be more than just 2 or 3 sentences. Otherwise, that's just thin. Duplicate. It's the same information found everybody place else. You just took a Wikipedia article and you rewrote it. That's a duplicate content. Or poorly written. This isn't fair, is it? Google's now proofreading your work. So if you have typos and bad links, you're suppressed. So I tell my students, hire yourself a proofreader, hire yourself an editor, hire yourself a professional writer. And again, that favors Annenberg. Everyone should just be hiring Annenberg students. So instead of thin content, we want thick. Lots of rich content, full of facts, spelled correctly. A clear layout. For a while, web design was getting really, really bad. You would notice you go to a website and you have ads popping up in your face. You accidentally roll over something and another ad pops in your face. Google decided, that's bad for our users. We're going to start punishing the websites that have invasive advertising. We're not going to allow that anymore. We'll still show them, they just get pushed down further. You may still come across them because there just aren't many websites with the topic you're looking for. So you're like, I thought Google was going to clear this up. They're trying. We just need more people writing on this topic. Fast page loading. If your page is slow because you just covered it in pictures, here's every photo from my vacation in Las Vegas. Google's like, no one's going to sit around waiting because we're using USC Wi-Fi. It's going to be too slow to download that stuff. Let's bury it. No errors on the page. Because obviously, I've been on I read the Los Angeles Times every day. And I still come across websites with broken links. I was like, come on, LA Times, how many employees do you have? Go in there, check your links, make sure they all work, because that will penalize the story. The problem. Yes, sir.
Yeah, on the poorly written, does that tend to penalize people whose English may not be a native language? And
Yes.
does Google also do the same things with foreign language sites?
I can't speak to foreign languages, but definitely with English, and I would assume so with foreign languages as well. Because here's the rationale. If there are 2 articles that are almost the same, right? And one is in perfect English and one has a lot of grammar problems, they're obviously going to favor the one in perfect English. It's a competition. Now remember, there are lots of different variables. So if the one that's poorly written has more backlinks, more expert, more authority, more trust, then even though it's poorly written, it may still rank higher. So the spelling and the grammar is just one variable. But if I am, if you have 2 English writers, USC versus UCLA, but UCLA gets lazy and they don't proofread their stuff, the USC article will rank higher. This is why I say search engine optimization is a game. It's like a sport. We're constantly going up against our rivals to appear higher than they are.
Does website display count as well? Like, for example, a website that looks like it's from 2004 versus a website that looks like today?
Depending on how easy it is to use, because I've seen some terrible websites from 2017.
Yeah.
And I wish some sites were still designed like they were in 2004. So it depends on the usability. So, in fact, I'm glad you asked that. Perfect segue. So how does Google decide that a site design from 2004 is better than a site design from 2017? Well, again, it's about people. They're watching you. Use Google Chrome, they're watching how you behave. Google Analytics, watching how you behave. If you're on a website and Google sees that you're clicking all the menu items and you can't find what you're looking for and you keep on clicking back, nope, that's not what I want, I'm going back, I'm lost, okay, I filled my shopping cart, I give up, I'm not even going to buy it. Google records that. Google says somebody struggled on this website. You may know what it's like when you're trying to find a class at USC. Where is that class? I heard I'm supposed to take this class. Google follows that along. If people give up on your site, they go in there in 2 or 3 clicks because Google also times you. Now, if you're lost, you'll spend a lot of time on a website. So what they're really looking for is how much time do you spend on each page. If you're spending 2 seconds on a page, you're like, well, that's probably a bad page. So even though somebody clicked on it, they were there for 2 seconds. And they got frustrated and they left. So how people behave on a website is really, really important. And the numbers also matter. If it's 2 or 3 people using your website, not as good as if there's 2,000 to 3,000 people using your website. So people always ask me, for example, why do people run Super Bowl ads? What's the purpose of a Super Bowl ad? It's because you're driving thousands of people who are interested to your website. They're interested because they saw your Super Bowl ad, so they didn't come to your website by accident. They went to your website for a purpose, and hopefully you designed your website to respond to thousands of people coming in, and their behavior on your site could help you. So what's the purpose of a Super Bowl ad? SEO. Boosting your website in the rank. Now, if you have a Super Bowl ad and 2,000 people come to your website, but it's full of typos and it's slow and it's broken, you can actually hurt your website with a Super Bowl ad. Because now you're sending 2,000 people, it's like a 2,000 person focus group. They come to your website and their behavior tells Google whether your website is good or bad. So that traffic on your site and how it's the entire user experience is so important. So we talked about the value of PR. We talked about the value of writing. This is the value of having a good designer. And a poorly designed website will hurt you with SEO. And what's really bad, bounces, and particularly pogo sticking. A bounce is you go to a web page and you're like, no, this isn't what I want, but I'm going to click on this one. I'm going to click on this one. Google's like, well, that's not great, but we're not really going to punish people for that because people may be picky about what they want. So bounces, so you look at the bounce rate and you're like, well, yeah, we're getting a lot of people who are only bouncing around our website. Let's make our pages a little more interesting. Where you are punished is a pogo stick. You guys don't know what a pogo stick is? No, you're too young to remember pogo sticks. Yeah, right? It's a toy designed to break a kid's elbow. Right? So there's a stick and you bounced on it. Right? Pogo stick. So if you go on to search, I'm going to show you what a pogo stick is. So I'm going to go here. I'm going to click on this article. I don't like this article. This video's taking too long. I'm going back. Me hitting back to Google is a pogo stick. Because it tells Google, and one person doing it isn't going to change Google's mind. Thousands of people pogo sticking are going to change somebody's mind. So thousands of people click on that first link and then go back, it's going to be pushed down, because Google says, well, people don't like that link. We don't want that. Which is next week, my colleague Matt is going to talk about Google Analytics and how you can tell if somebody's pogo sticking. So it's not just about the data. And one thing about being a good search engine optimization analyst is not only that you report the numbers, hey, we have a bounce rate of 68%, but it's being able to say why.
And so someone is just a pure data analyst, but they don't understand content, they're not going to be a good SEO person. Yes?
Is opening a new tab or opening a new window the best way to avoid that?
It's possible, yeah. In case you want to explore a site and not punish it, that's possible, but as I said, one person doing that isn't going to make a huge difference.
Or say, like I'm a blogger, so if I want to link to other content, or should I always like enable them to link it or force them to open a new tab?
Yeah, but not for SEO reasons. Just do it anyway because you don't want to lose your audience. You always never send people off your site. You work too hard to get them there. So the bounces and the pogo sticking will punish you. But if you have lots of traffic, lots of people coming to your site who are already interested, that will do wonders for your SEO. But that's a tool of marketing. We need people to be interested in us before they get there. They need to know who we are, right? That's why we do advertising. Advertising is an SEO tool. They're sitting there watching a football game or a basketball game, and up comes an ad for USC. If you do your Google Analytics right, you can see, is there a spike in traffic during our commercial? That commercial may be worth every penny if people are on the site reading articles. Now, as Matthew will tell you next week, you should have Google Analytics on your website, so Google can help you with this data, unless you just don't want Google to track all that behavior, in case it won't. Okay, so quick notes on Google Mobile. As I mentioned earlier today, more than 50% of all searches in the United States are on a phone. Now, this is huge for just how everything is done, which means that Google actually for a while, and actually they did, Google separated their search engines. There's a separate search engine now for people using their phones, which has different criteria. So what does a Google mobile criteria mean? Well, the site should be phone friendly. I recently had a client, it was actually a major business school, and their landing page where people sign up for more information was doing really poorly. And they said, we're spending all this money trying to get people to go to this page, but it's doing really poorly. Well, that's because it was not designed for a phone. And I said, you're trying to attract young people and your website's not designed for a phone? No wonder young people aren't staying on your page, because you know what it's like. It's like, okay, make this bigger. I still can't read it. I'm trying to fill out this form. Oh, I hate this. I hate my life. I hate this site. So Google shares your pain. Google says, you don't like surfing a website that's not designed for your phone, so it might not even show it unless it doesn't have any other choices. If there's no choice, all right, fine, we'll show your site. But otherwise, we're going to try to repress it, which means that your site either has to be dynamic or responsive in response to the phone. It should be fast, because they found out that we have more patience when we're on our laptops than when we're on our phone. Because I know half of you are driving while you're surfing your phone, which you shouldn't be, but you are. So we know that if that page doesn't download within 3 seconds, most of you are gone. In fact, studies show that if you don't load within 3 seconds, you lose 40 to 60% of your audience if you don't download in 3 seconds. So make sure your page is fast. No pop-ups, because we all know nobody in the history of the world has intentionally clicked on an ad on their phone. It's all accidental. I do it every day trying to read an article. It's like, damn it, I just clicked on another ad. I hate that. So sites, they have to be, if the ad covers almost the entire screen, and you're trying to read an article and you're trying to browse past this ad, Google will just punish that page. I was like, that's an ad page. It's not a content page. Our users don't like that. Sometimes you gotta love Google. They're looking out for us while they're watching us while we sleep. Obviously, local gets priority. Very much so with mobile phones. Because if you're looking for pizza, they're gonna show you your neighborhood. All right? So let's sum up what matters to Google. And this used to be their original slogan, their model, was don't be evil. The European Union may disagree in some respects. But for the most part,
This is what Google's trying to make the web a better place. So wants authoritative websites. Websites that have really strong brands, backlinks, good articles. Right? High quality content with keywords. Hire yourself a journalism grad, a journalism student. They're trained to create high quality content, not garbage content. Don't, as an MBA, let me tell you, don't have your MBAs write articles for you, unless you really like jargon. Backlinks. Get people to link back to you. Give them a reason. Relevance to the user. So this is harder, because obviously every user is different. And I'm seeing a new trend in websites where as soon as you get to the website, they try to figure out who you are and where you want to go. What brings you to our website today? Because you could think of all the different kinds of people who come to USC's website. Students, their parents, potential football players, journalists, donors, right? What brings you to the site today? We might even create separate sites just for these people, just to stand out to them, all right? And what are people doing on your website? You ever go to a website, you look up an article, it's just like, top 10 beaches in Southern California. And so you're like, oh yeah, I want to go to the beach, spring break. So you go to the website, and they could easily put all the top 10 beaches on one page, but they make you click 1, 2. Annoying, isn't it? You do it for 2 reasons. One is so they could show you more advertising, but the second reason is so they could get more user activity on the site. Oh, look at all those clicks. Someday Google's going to get people for doing that. But in the time being, lots of websites are into how do I get people to do more on my website? I know, I'm going to take a YouTube video, embed it in my blog, so that way people stay on my site and watch a video for 2 minutes instead of just leave it. It's also why when somebody has a website, I say, put your cool features there. Don't go to all this trouble to do SEO on your website and then send people to your Facebook page. That's like sending people to your advertising. You work so hard to get them to your website where they can apply to the school, read more articles. But you say, hey everybody, welcome to our website. Check out this contest we're having on Facebook. And I was like, why would you do that? No, on Facebook, say everybody, hey everybody, we have a contest. Go to our website to enter the contest. The contest is on our site, not on Facebook. So favor your website. Hey, check out all our pictures from the Rose Bowl on our Instagram page. And I'm like, no. All the pictures on the Rose Bowl should be named with keywords and put on your website. Why are you doing Mark Zuckerberg so many favors? No wonder he's a billionaire. Because everyone keeps giving him favors. Here's all my photos, right? Here's all my contests. Yes?
I have a question. If, for example, a user sends a message to the company through the website, does it help? Or no?
It's activity. It's activity. So earlier I said there's one way that social media can boost SEO. It's not backlinks. We said backlinks don't matter. It's if people come from your social media and they're interested in you because of your social media and they come to the website to do more activity. So the number one purpose of your social media, for SEO purposes, there's a lot of other purposes for social media, but for SEO, the number one purpose is send people from your Twitter, your Instagram, your Facebook, your LinkedIn to your website. Stop doing the social networks so much favor. They're tools to help you. And people, even the big newspapers are realizing this, because they used to create stories for Facebook. And they said, Facebook's not being nice to us. Facebook is punishing us. So instead, we're going to stop creating stories for Facebook and put all our stories back on our website and make people do that. Okay. That's the gist of it. Basically, you just had, a year's worth of knowledge in an hour and 45 minutes. In case you want more information, I recommend these 2 websites, moz.com, searchengineland.com. These are guys who actually are researchers. They're constantly experimenting. Because a lot of the stuff I told you today, Google won't tell you. It's these guys who did the research and they found out, oh wow, if you put the keywords in the headline, it helps more than if you put it at the end, because we did the testing. So these two sites are really good. And in fact, there's an article on Moz.com. It's a free one. It's called The Beginner's Guide to SEO. So you can go in there, download that. There's a class, in case you want more of me, right, that I'm actually teaching this summer. I don't know who did this torture schedule. I thought this was banned by the law. But it's Mondays and Wednesdays from 6 to 10 p.m. If anyone has advice on how to teach a 4-hour class, let me know. But no, I will figure out fun and games, and this will be this summer, starting June 28th. And it's not just SEO, it's web design, it's content strategy, it's everything about websites. And what else? This is me, FreddyNager.com. How many of you own your own name as a web address? A few very smart people got their name. Your homework assignment, this is the only homework I'm going to give you. Go buy your name. You can buy it on Google itself. Google is now selling web addresses. All right? Or go to GoDaddy or whatever your favorite place to buy web addresses is. Buy your name. Even if you don't create a website, what I did with FreddyNager.com is I just linked it to my LinkedIn. Because typing in that long LinkedIn address will sprain your fingers. It's just too long. So I make it nice and short. It looks nice on my resume. It looks nice on my business cards. Just go here. There's also another important reason to buy your name. Buy it before your ex does. Okay? Or if you have an ex, buy his name and point it to something really bad. Okay? Because if you don't buy your name, somebody else will. You know who owned jebbush.com? Guess. Take a wild guess. Yeah. Worse than his ex. Some guy named Donald Trump bought his name. So during the election, if you typed in jebbush.com, you went to Donald Trump for president. Brilliant. I mean, I don't know what you think about Trump otherwise, but that was just a brilliant piece of marketing by his digital team. So buy your name, and you feel free to. I love connecting with USC people, so feel free to connect with me. Yes.
What site would you suggest for buying?
I always use GoDaddy because I used to buy it off Yahoo, but they turned into a disaster of a company. And GoDaddy so far has been pretty solid. But as I just said, Google just announced they're selling domains. They just launched it. And you figure, well, Google's not going to go anywhere soon. And you can kind of trust Google, so we'll see. That's what I would recommend. You can also buy, if you have a WordPress site, you can also buy it off of WordPress. Other questions? Yes, sir.
Yeah, I'm wondering if an institution can guarantee traffic to its site by the formulation of keywords in a search.
Mm-hmm.
For example, if you type in U.S. policy on those words, is there any way that the State Department, for example, which is responsible for U.S. policy on would guarantee that anything typed in U.S. policy on, regardless of what came down in Syria, non-proliferation, whatever it might be, would be directed toward the State Department's comment on that issue or the official text of it?
Yeah, there are no guarantees. Now, because the State Department is a government website, Google already gives it its highest authority ranking. It's the State Department, so it's almost by default. But obviously, there's some sneaky guys out there who may be better at keywords and stuff like that. Because the State Department may have their official policy, but they named it wrong.
I just typed in what is U.S. policy on Syria. And
Right.
I've got the Council on Foreign Relations, foreignpolicy.com, Wikipedia,
Yeah.
Al Jazeera, the Wilson Center, and then the State Department
Sure.
three down. So
So-
what are they doing wrong? That, that's not.
They didn't take my class. But as I said, there's lots of reasons. It could be the amount of traffic. Those other sites may be getting a lot more traffic. People by default go to Wikipedia in a lot of cases, particularly students. I always encourage students to go to the official source, but they still get quotes in Wikipedia. So it could be a matter of that. It could be a matter of backlinks. It could be that the articles written by other people were more interesting, better written. So
So is
people
that-
spend more time on it.
Does that suggest then that the State Department is falling down on the job, needs to do more or better work?
Yeah,
on-
and I'm guessing that the State Department, you will find, as I have discovered, that the larger and prouder the institution, the less they emphasize marketing. Right? Because they feel like, we're USC, we're the State Department. We don't have to do anything, it'll happen naturally. So even Annenberg, I could give Annenberg 100 tips on how to improve the SEO of our own website. But, you know, they're the State Department, they have much bigger priorities. They're happy that they're on page 1, and they assume that people are going to look for them there. Other questions?
Another question.
Yeah.
You said about mobile that the site should be dynamic or responsive. Is there
Right.
a difference between those two, or is
Slightly.
they mean the same thing?
A responsive website actually knows which browser and window, and it will shape itself, right? Dynamic website actually serves you a completely different website.
Okay.
So, I'm a sports fan, I go to ESPN, right? But when I go to ESPN on my phone, I get a completely different website. That's a dynamic serving website, as opposed to the website just shifting shape to fit. Now, if you go to my website, Atomic Tango, my website's responsive.
Okay.
I don't have the resources to create 2 different websites. So that's the difference.
Okay.
Okay?
I have one more question. You
Yeah.
said earlier that
You're a good
about,
note taker.
you said creating shareable content asked for links, and you said not efficient. What do you mean by that?
Not efficient because the number of backlinks, remember, it's a matter of both quality and quantity.
Yeah.
If you get a backlink from the LA Times or from USC, then it's efficient because you're getting 2 really high quality links. But if you're just emailing little bloggers all over the place, will you link to me? Will you link to me? Will you link to me?
Okay.
Their sites aren't high quality enough to make a difference.
Hmm.
And you're like, okay, you got 1/1,000,000th of 1% of a boost, as opposed to LA Times may give you a 2% boost. Does that make sense? So it's the quality, and because in the beginning you would get I would get emails from people saying, hey, will you link to my site? I was like, I will, but it's not going to make a difference. I'm not the LA Times. I'm not going to be able to boost you.
And is that why links from social media don't count?
The reason that links from social media don't count, one is because they can be gamed. People can program Twitter to spit out the link 1,000,000 times.
Oh, okay.
Right? And people are sharing the links on Twitter. You can't redo that on a blog.
Yeah.
So you get the same duplicated links 1,000,000 times. So Google just it's in agreement with the social networks too. We're just not going to count those.
Even if it's like the comment section of the blog?
In the comments section of the blog, that may have less weight than in the blog itself.
Okay. But it
Because
still counts. Anyway.
yeah, well, it's up to the blogger too. Some blogs, if you put a link in their comment section, they even tell Google, do not follow any links in my comment section,
Okay.
because they don't want people spamming up their comments.
All right.
Other questions?
Are we gonna have the class in the fall term as well?
I think so. It hasn't been confirmed, but I think it will be also in the fall.
What do you gonna teach like mainly in this class? It's gonna be like the SEO or more
Now, SEO is going to be 1 class out of 15. So the other 14 is going to be design, it's going to be usability, it's going to be how to write. So it's a lot heavy duty on writing. So I'd be happy to send you a syllabus if you contact me. I still have to adapt the syllabus to 4-hour class.
Do you have a separate class for SEO?
I do not. I do not. It's just been worked into the one website content strategy course. So that's why I recommend going to Moz or Search Engine Land. Moz.com even has videos. Their founder does a cool video every Friday. Other questions?
Just out of curiosity, does it cost anything to buy your own link?
Yeah, it's not it depends on the site, but $15, $20, and you renew it every year. So I think that added security is worth $20 a year. I would do it. It's worth it to me. Yes, sir. GoDaddy, or maybe even Google or WordPress. There are lots of places you can buy names. Yes.
Do you know if like SEO for kind of other search engines is any different? Like if I'm trying to like optimize Yahoo or
Yeah, there's some slight differences. the other search engines are not as sophisticated as Google, so you can get away with more black hat techniques on, say, Bing. Right? So they're not going to, and Bing may not be able to pick out the synonyms like Google can. It's just a matter of how much investment they've put into it. You guys have been great. If you need to follow up with me, you know where to find me. And I hope to see some of you again next week.
Thank you.
Thank you. Sure.